good afternoon, and thank you for joining me again on this Just 20-minute series. Today we are talking about something really interesting. I like this very much. It's called I'm Not Creative. I'm going to start this with a very interesting story that actually happened last Sunday. There's a very young person who came to see me. He was very confused about his career options and so on and so forth. Let's, for the purpose of today's talk, call him Mr. SS. Okay. Now, I noticed that for every single thing we talked about, he kept saying that, but I'm not creative and I can't do that and so on. This began to bug me a little bit, so I decided to do a small experiment with SS. So I asked him to draw the first letter of his name, the alphabet. So he drew this S. Okay. Then I said to him, then can you create something with S? Any kind of drawing, art, whatever comes to your mind. There's no right or wrong. Do what you like. So he converted that into a nice little snake, um, which was not bad. And I thought it was a good attempt, but I wasn't going to let him go on this. So I told him that look, this is nice, but it's also somewhat predictable because every time I see somebody draw an S and they make it into a snake. So what else can you do with this? And he came out with this. Can you see what's happening here? He has actually drawn an S and he converted that into a twin clock with one part of the clock showing time in the US and another clock showing time in India. And the clock showing the US time, the way in which the hands were positioned, he made it to a mustache and so on. So I thought this is fantastic. It's a nice piece of creative work. So I said, listen, so why are you saying you're not creative? See what you've created. I mean, I could never imagine S becoming a twin clock like this. And he sort of blushed a little bit and he could really explain why he was saying he was not creative. Now, let me stop this story here because thereafter the entire discussion changed its course and we were able to identify what his real strengths were and how he can actually move forward on that basis. Then I asked him if he had a girlfriend, and he said, yes, I have a girlfriend. And I said, what is the first letter of her name? And he drew this G, right? So I said, what can you change this into? And see what he has done. Man, I think they had snake in his head. So the snake came back again, but then see what he's done. He actually converted that into a snake and ladder, right? So I was quite zapped by what this guy was able to do. And so he was. I mean, he was also very zapped by what he did. So this entire thing about I'm not creative sort of changed for this young man who's about 20 years old. And I know there are many such people who think they are not creative. So one of the things I do is in my workshops as the first warm-up exercise, I ask people to do write an alphabet and convert that to a piece of art in about 30 seconds. And here are some outputs from some of the workshops. Take a look at these, right? Isn't that nice? Or this, can you recognize the letter? It's M. M becomes a butterfly, right? So what a beautiful thing to do. Or P. I could never imagine a P becoming an elephant like this. I thought this was again very nice piece of art. Now, when we discussed the outputs with the participants in that workshop, everybody realized that the whole thing about I am not creative is something in our head and it is not necessarily true. The guys who participated in this workshop generally were not from marketing. Out of the entire group of about 30-40 people, I think 30 people there were about 4 marketing people and the rest of them were from logistics, from commercial, from financial services and so on and so forth. So let me move on further on this. This is the signature of one of my friends. Okay, this is an interesting story actually. I am 63 years old and this friend of mine is 11 years old. Okay, 11 years old. And he and I are good friends. So I went to, this is Amrit Ramnath. I went to see Amrit Ramnath sometime last year at his home in Chennai. And then they have a very nice duplex apartment. And it has a nice little terrace attached to the flat. So when we were standing in the terrace and his parents and he were showing me around, he pointed out to a place called Cheshire Home, which is in the neighboring building. And Cheshire Home houses differently abled people and able children there. And he apparently goes there often to spend time with them, which I thought was very touching. So, so that part of the conversation rested there. And then when we came inside, his father told me that he has actually handed over his old Nikon camera to Amrit, and Amrit was playing around with that camera. So one thing led to another, and finally Amrit and I decided that he was going to spend a day at Cheshire home photographing these people in various ways, right? And then he said, suppose we have a party with those people and then I photograph them, how would that be? I said, go ahead and do that. So you know what Amrit did? He went armed with a whole lot of Play-Doh and soap bubbles and some chocolates and juice for all those people. And as they were playing around with that, he shot some pictures. And I'm going to share some of those pictures here with you. Look at this. There's the first picture, not necessarily in a sequence, but this picture caught my eye. Actually, he sent me something like 200 odd pictures, and I have selected a few for this discussion today. I really love this. See the way, look at their expressions. This was very interesting. I mean, when you're actually showing a soap bubble shot, most of the people concentrate on showing the bubble, the result of the work. But here is something where the bubble didn't come, but look at the intensity of this person's face and look at the lighting. Amazing shot. And this, of course, is a nice bubble. But what I really liked is the way in which the flow too has come there. Okay, or this one, which is interesting. This is beautiful. And look at this. Look at this lady. I don't know how old she is. Can you imagine the kind of expression there? I don't know how Amrit caught this. Okay, I really love this picture. Oh, look at this. Look at the happiness on this boy's face, or maybe a gentleman's face. I don't know how old he is, right? This is brilliant. So nice, so nice. It's a hot day apparently. It's not very late in the afternoon, but still, look at that. Okay, and then he had some really tight close-ups of what they created with the Play-Doh. This is some stuff that they had created. I don't know what they called it. And this is another piece. And look at this shot. And apparently Amrit had to lie on the floor, uh, parallel to this piece. Okay, and this piece was a few inches high. He had to hold his camera very, very low to get a shot of this. I love this, and the hands in the background as well. Okay. Now, this one was not created at Cheshire, but it was created by somebody who is a very, very senior person who had come to visit the workshop. He was so intrigued by this Play-Doh business. So he was listening to the workshop and, watching the proceedings, and he was playing around with the Play-Doh. And lo and behold, this is what he created. And this person admitted to me that he never thought he could do it, and he thought all this Play-Doh stuff is for kids and ladies. Okay, he is a very senior director in the company. So why do we think we are not creative? What can we do about it? Okay, take a look at this. Can you see what's on this picture? When I ask this question to anybody, 90% of the people point to that black dot. About 10% talk about the white space in this. This is what the whole thing is all about. We all concentrate on our faults and not on our strengths. Now, I'm not getting preachy here, but in fact, I'm going to make a confession. I'm learning Carnatic music, and I've been learning Carnatic music from 1975 onwards. That makes it 25 plus 12, 37 years. In spite of 37 years of work, I still don't have the confidence to go and sing on a stage. I get sweats, I get palpitation, I get really nervous singing, and if I go to somebody's place, they ask me to sing, and I make all sorts of excuses, and I'm always worried about whether the timing will be right, whether the shruti will be right, whether the raga will be right, and I always believe that I just cannot do a decent job. The fact is, there are many people who have told me that I have a decent voice, and then most of the time I do a fairly good job of singing. Nevertheless, I'm not adequate in my own eyes. Now, this is the biggest issue all of us face. So, there are some misplaced ideas of creativity. Misplaced ideas, creativity is that, I'm not like Rahman, or I'm not like Hussein, or I'm not like so and so, so and so. You always look at the iconic figures who we consider creative, and we're saying that we're not like him. When I was a kid, there is this guy who used to sell balloons, and he was also used to sell the single string violin, which was called the Iktara, whatever it is. Now he used to sing, he used to play amazing music in that one, all sorts of film music. I bought that and brought it home, and I couldn't play it. The secret is that the guy was practicing daily, and in order to sell here to play very well, right? I was not putting in the effort, but expecting perfection and mastery over that, like he had, without the effort. So that is a major issue with all of us. So we are also unreasonable and harsh with ourselves. When we look at ourselves, why should we become experts or masters of anything in 10 days time? It's not like instant coffee, right? It's not instant mastery. So we have to be nice to be ourselves, nice to ourselves. We have to be patient with ourselves, and we must encourage ourselves to put in effort on a continuous, regular basis if we really want to do something which we are happy with, and we call it creative. So there is a false sense of modesty which often pulls us down. If somebody really appreciates my piece of work, instead of acknowledging the fact that they're saying that and thank them for it, I turn around. So actually it's not all that much, and there are people who can do it far better, and so on and so forth. You know, so this is something that we all suffer from. The other thing we all chase is something called perfection. According to me, chasing a bus called perfection that never arrives. You can never be perfect enough. At some point you have to call it a day and get on with it. So what happens is, if you wait for perfection to arrive, you can never execute a job and release it. So this is another problem. We expect perfection in the very first attempt, and then grumble that we're not getting it right. So this is another thing. So we need to be able to relax. We say, okay, even if it's not right the first time, we can improve it and move on, and so forth. So this is another issue that affects us, and that's one of the reasons why we think we are not creative. Oh, this is big one. What will others think? Most of us are driven by other people's opinion about our work, ourselves, and what they think of us will govern the way we dress, govern the kind of car I buy, govern the kind of job I go to, govern the kind of money I spend on holidays, and so on and so forth. This is a big stumbling block for people who believe they are not creative. That's because they constantly seek immediate approval and applause from other people. So if you really want to feel and be creative, the first thing that you need to do is to sacrifice this what will others think business. So, what is creative all about? Being creative, according to me, is seizing an opportunity and doing something with it, solving a problem and doing new things. It's not about music, it's not about literature, it's not about theater, it's not about anything else. It's just about doing stuff which is different, solving problems which may not have been solved for a long time, and seizing some opportunity, like what Amrit and I did. There was an opportunity which was waiting to be seized, but none of us noticed, and we seized that opportunity, right? So that's creative according to me. So this is the point I want to make, that when you say I'm not creative, you need to be first acknowledging the fact that you are indeed creative. It's just that we haven't got the opportunity to express our creativity. So what you need to do is to believe that you're creative, because there is proof. I have proved it through those alphabet exercises and many other exercises. And if you want proof, then give some proof to yourself, create some proof, and then build on that and build on the strength of what you already got, rather than worry about what you have not got. I think this is an extremely important issue. The more you do that, the more you'll be able to realize your potential, and the more creative you will indeed become. Good luck.